Good morning. One Virginia dude here again. Well, I was listening to some podcasts over the weekend and some reading, and apparently there's I guess you could call them an underground cyber terrorist network, and the target of their wrath is people who own Tesla vehicles or those who work for Tesla, and even some who are affiliated with Tesla dealerships. So it's not just owners, it's also employees and other people affiliated with them. Obviously, it evolves from hatred of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, but they're actually not really hurting Donald Trump and Elon much as hurting ordinary people, especially many people probably who are left of center who thought EVs would be a great thing. And it was a lot of Democrat legislators who were in favor of EV tax credits. So people thought they were doing the green thing by buying an electric car, which they're really very green if you consider the heavy metals and the plastics and everything else involved in them. But that's not the point. Um, they're threatening to dox, in other words, make like the names, addresses, and email information of people who own Teslas or who work for a Tesla dealership or for maybe in a Tesla factory. They're threatening you to do this, and the way you can avoid it apparently is to send them proof that you sold the vehicle, which begs another question. If you are going to be targeted for owning a Tesla for vandalism, firebombing, having your car spray painted, having it vandalized or stolen or anything like that, why would you buy one? In other words, what it's going to do is it's going to make the Tesla next to worthless if you already have one. So the people who have them are probably going to be subject to their insurance costs because of the vandalism and arson claim against them. But it'll make it a lot harder to sell. It'd be like owning a car like a Peugeot, a Citroen, a Renault, or a Triumph, or an MG, or something like that in the United States, or a Suzuki when the manufacturer goes out of business for this market. There are a lot of cars that are still made by other manufacturers around the world that are sold in the Caribbean and sold in Europe and whatnot. But imagine living in the United States having a car like a Daewoo or a Daihatsu. You're not really going to be able to sell it because there aren't any more dealers who carry parts and can work on them. So it's sort of a way to make the Tesla worthless. Now, could the people, if they're caught, who are doing this, be brought up on under RICO statutes? Could they be charged domestic terrorism because they're using violence or the threat of violence to push a particular political viewpoint to force people to change? I mean, there's a strong argument that could be made, but this goes far beyond free speech and being able to hate on Elon Musk and Donald Trump and whatnot. You're actually hurting people. I do, on the subject of Teslas being vandalized, I do find it quite ironic and also sad. I was watching, my wife had it on, I believe it was The Daily Show. It was a stream. We stream everything on TV. We don't have cable, but I think it was from Comedy Central or it was MSNBC. I forget which, but it was The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and they were showing pictures of Teslas being vandalized. People are spray painting swastikas on them, throwing Molotov cocktails at Tesla dealerships. And people in the audience were clapping and cheering like they were totally okay with it. That kind of sent a chill down my spine. It reminded me of Kristallnacht. Who were the people going around burning businesses and spray painting swastikas on walls and vandalizing property and assaulting and beating people up? It was the National Socialist German Workers' Party and other people associated with them. But yet, the people today engaging in this behavior are calling other people, they're referring to other people as Nazis. I think people needed reality check. This is not a good thing. Like Elon Musk, don't buy a Tesla. If you don't like Bud Light, then don't drink Bud Light. Boycotting something is fine. That's perfectly acceptable. Peaceful protest is fine. If you want to stand on a public highway on the side of a Tesla dealership and you're not burning anything, you're not doing anything violent, and you're not obstructing traffic in any way, then go ahead. That's your First Amendment right. But as soon as you throw a brick or light that first Molotov or take out your key and scratch a car, then you forfeit your First Amendment right in that respect. You have a right to peaceful protest. But anyway, I saw the stories about it, and it's like, that's pretty creepy. That's pretty bad in a country like the United States. You would expect that in some banana republic, but people need to be really, really careful. And when they start to use violence as a political weapon, it's kind of like the old saying is, it's like crossing a boomerang with a rattlesnake. It might come back around. I think people really need to tread lightly here. Being caught doing that, then it wouldn't surprise me if the RICO statute would apply, or even domestic terrorism. So the people behind this might even think it's funny. I don't know. It could be some very, smart young people who know how to really get away around the internet and to bully people, but they need to tread lightly on that. You can start down that. Once you let that genie out of the bottle, he doesn't want to go back inside. So I would admonish people, if you don't like Tesla, don't buy one, don't drive one. If maybe you want or a Rivian or something like that, knock yourself out. I don't think in our situation it's applicable, but let's say you live in a stairwell apartment, you have underground parking where you have a charging, and you have a short commute, maybe less than 10 miles. You get a full week out of a charge, and it might think you don't have any emissions at the tailpipe. You don't have to worry about stopping for gas, and it would be a clean and quiet ride. That's okay. But I just don't think EVs are the solution for everybody just yet. I think they have an niche in subsidies for them. I don't believe in tax credits. They should compete in the free market. If Tesla can build something, Elon can get subsidized by the taxpayers for doing it. Now, that's no reason to hate on Elon Musk. It's if our government provides the tax credit and his company takes advantage of it, then he's operating within the law. Even if the law might be wrong, you can't blame a business for doing it. But anyway, just think about it. Should you be threatened with violence because to buy? I just think we go down that road. What happens next? Do you get publicly shamed for what you eat, what type of house you live in, where you work, what clothes you wear, what music you listen to? I mean, this can turn into really bad things. History shows us that. So, before you go to light a match to somebody's Tesla, just stop and think, would you want somebody doing that to you? Part of living in a civilized society is respect for other people's property. And you'll find that if you go out in a rural area where most people own their own home and they own their own property, you might have two neighbors who might not really like each other, but they're tolerant of each other and they get along, because one guy's not going to burn down his neighbor's house because he doesn't want his neighbor burning down his house. But if you go into an urban environment in a major city, a lot of people there don't own anything. They rent everything. So they don't have an attachment to their community like people do out in the hinterlands. And that's why, riots and arson and vandalism and looting seems to be more tolerated in the cities, because nobody owns anything, or the majority of people don't own anything, so they don't have skin in the game. When you spend years of your life working and you put together some money and you make a down payment on a piece of land, a couple of acres out in the hinterland, you tend to guard it jealously. You tend to care about it because it's your piece of the pie. And when people live stacked and packed in an urban environment, they don't really have the concept of going out and playing in the backyard. They use a government park, or they have a park behind their building or something like that. Things are more communal. It's hard to explain, but like a bike trail or something like that is still owned by the city. Whereas, we live out in a rural area, and, we have, some dirt roads and some walking trails out in the woods that it's not anybody's house, but, the people around here tend to value the open space and the living, and we use whatever means we can to have some land and have some breathing room out here. And I've lived in a big city before. It's very convenient where you can walk places, but eventually you get tired of the noise, the police sirens at night, the loud music of cars, and hearing your neighbors yelling. Out here I could probably go out and yell off my back porch. My nearest neighbor is about 300 meters away. So, you got a little bit of room. But some of the areas in the county out here, you have some people who have 50 or 60 acres of land, and there's nobody around. So I just wish, but anyway, I'm having problems with my internet connection again. I don't know what's going on. The internet works great out here, so I'm going to call it a day. Anyway, peace to all.